Now moving to the unit 1. Firstly, I come to the definition of the enterprise, that what is an enterprise? What does enterprise means? Enterprise is simply defined as business organization. Any business is known as enterprise. For example, if you raise sheep, then you may have sheep enterprise. If you are growing crop, you have crop enterprise. But if you grow corn and wheat, you can have corn enterprise and wheat enterprise. This is the layman examples. If I say you are having an enterprise which is used for the development of some particular device, say mobile, then you are having mobile enterprise. Let's take an example of Vodafone. Vodafone is a company, telecom company, which is providing you telecom facility. Then which type of enterprise it is there? It is telecom enterprise. Enterprise basically word means any type of business that is used is known as enterprise. Then comes the type of enterprises. In the type of enterprises, we come with the three types. First is the competitive enterprise, then come the complementary enterprise, then comes the supplementary enterprises. Firstly, we will cover the competitive enterprise. What does it mean? Competitive enterprise means it says most enterprises are competitive ones. Okay, let's take an example that why we are studying. We are studying because we know that there is a competition in market. If we require job, we have to study hard to grasp any type of job. Similarly, if any enterprise want to earn benefit, the enterprise knows that there is a competition in the market, that it must fulfill the resources so that it can compete with the opponents. It says most enterprises are the competitive ones because everyone require profit here. They compete for resources. Why there is a competition? There is a competition for resources. Basically, increasing the level of one enterprise reduces the resources available to have another competing enterprise. What does it mean? It means suppose there are limited resources are available in the market, but two companies are producing the same product. That means they require the same resources. Suppose one company is having a good budget and it is requiring all the resources before, and it may occur the situation that the other company may have shortfall of the resources. That that is possible that the other company may face loss. That is the condition. The level of increasing of one enterprise reduces resources. In the competitive enterprise, suppose we are having two enterprises and we are having 100 resources, and both the enterprises require same type of 100 resources. Let's take an example that one enterprise is having good budget and they are acquiring all the resources. Fine, they are purchasing all the 100 resources that is required for the manufacturing of the product. But the other enterprise may have shortfall of the resources because there will be no resources available to them. One enterprise has already acquired them. Then there will be a competition among two enterprises, that this is known as competitive enterprises. When there is a competition of the resources, then it is called the competitive enterprise, that one enterprise are going or running after the same type of resources. It is called the competitive enterprise. Let's take an example of telecom industry. All the telecom industries like Airtel, Jio, Idea, what they are doing, they are providing you data facility. They said purchase a pack of this, we will provide you this data facility. Take a pack of this amount, we will provide. They are competing with each other. Fine. This is called the competitive enterprise, either with the resources. And in that case of telecom, resources, what are the resources? Resources is the public. They are the resources that they are acquiring the resources. They are joining, they are trying that they must hire the people for their telecom company. Next come complementary enterprise. In the complementary enterprise, add to another enterprise when resources are limited. One that increases its output while at the same time increases the output of the another enterprise within the same system. What does it mean? When two businesses agree to join together for a common purpose and mutual benefit, it gives rise to the joint venture. Complementary enterprise means suppose two companies are running parallel to each other and both are facing some loss in the market. Then they decide to join their ventures, to join their business so that they can earn the profit. This is called the complementary enterprise. When two enterprises join together to make one business to gain profit, it is called the complementary enterprise. Access to new market and distribution network. When foreign companies form joint ventures with a company in a host country, they can access to the market of the host country. Sometime we listen, if one person is having a foreign project, US project, Canadian project. What does it mean? That means foreign companies are investing in our India. They are hiring our person for their benefit. It is called the complementary enterprise, that two companies or two ventures are working together. There are some examples of successful mergers and acquisitions where two companies are working with each other. That is Disney and Pixar Marvel, then Google and Android, Exxon and Mobile, then Pfizer and Warner Lambert. Can you give any example where I can say that there is a merging of two companies? Uh, this is not the mandatory condition that both the companies are facing loss. This is one condition that the companies are facing some loss condition, but they can also merge themselves when they want their more existence in the market. Fine. As I have given one example of Google and Android, with the Play Store you can only log in with your Gmail ID. That means there is a merger of Google and Android phones. Fine. Or you can say there are many websites where you can give your Facebook ID, Google ID for the login. This is again what? This is again an example of complementary enterprise. They have merged two things to enhance their enterprise. Then comes the supplementary enterprise. In supplementary enterprise, when one enterprise replaces with the other enterprise. Have you heard about Reliance? Earlier, there were Reliance mobiles in the market. Now, the Reliance company is overtaken by the name of Jio. This is supplementary enterprise. When one enterprise replaces the another. Then comes the enterprise application. Enterprise application means a large software system platform incorporated with hardware network designed to operate in corporate environments such as business or government. Is it when we're talking about enterprise, that means a business. But if we are saying enterprise application, then its definition differs. It differs like a large software platform where there is an incorporation of, there is a collaboration of hardware resources, network resources, as well as you may say that manpower is there, because to run any sort of enterprise you require all this sort of infrastructure for its working, technical as well as non-technical collaboration is there so that one enterprise could be established. Enterprise applications are complex, scalable, component-based, distribution, and mission critical. Obviously, when we are going to start any business, it is not a simple one. It is a complex form that how to run a business. What are the requirements to run a business? It should be measurable. It should be component-based. Like what are the requirements? Which components are required? What are the obsolete components that can be replaced? What is the distribution and mission critical is there? That means if there is a product development, that which series to be followed so the product can be rolled out in the market. What is enterprise application? The other definition is, it says there is a thin line of demarcation which separates an application can be termed as enterprise application or not. It says typically an application which satisfy the business functionalities. Business functionalities include both the requirement that is functional as well as the non-functional. In our coming sessions, we will discuss in detail that what are the functional requirements and what are the non-functional requirements that is required by one enterprise. An organization of enterprise may have several enterprise applications in its application landscape. They can be categorized from various perspectives. As in our previous definition, we have studied that one enterprise is a collaboration of hardware, network resources, and as well as of other things. In the coming session, we will study what are the hardware requirement, what are the technical layers, how it can be collaborated to form an enterprise application. Then is categorization of enterprise application. It is categorized into four forms, that is upstream, downstream, business enabler, type of business, type of processing supported. First comes the upstream. This is customer facing enterprise application or front end system of an organization. If we are using any website, suppose we're taking an example of Facebook. We're using their front end. We are hardly concerned what is in the back end, what are the technologies has been used, what is the database, how they are handling the data, and what are the hardware they are using. We are only concerned with the front end, that is called the upstream, that is customer facing enterprise application or front end system of an organization is called the upstream. Then comes the downstream. In the downstream, the user is concerned with the back end of the data, that is back end enterprise application working behind the scenes, that is with the databases in an organization to fulfill the customers or end users need. When we are concerned with the front end, it comes as a upstream. When we are concerned with the back end, it comes as a downstream. It is generally asked query that how you can differentiate between upstream as well as downstream. Then comes the business enabler. Business enabler, the application which fulfills the general organizational needs. Then comes the types of processing supported. Enterprise application may fall under categories such as online transaction processing or online analytical processing. We will also study in detail that what is the online transaction processing, what is the online analytical processing application, how you can differentiate among the two. Uh, we for generally we may say that OLTP is online transaction processing, that is online database modifying system, and OLAP is online database query answering system. One is transaction. Where the word transaction is concerned, we say that it is a modifying system. Where is the analytical processing system the concern, then we say that it is query answering system. But we will discuss in detail that what is the difference among two. Upstream is up the well. If we take general layman examples to understand what is upstream, as I say, it is the front end, and downstream it is the back end. Upstream is, a stream means a flowing water. Let's take an example of well. It is up the well, downward is downward to the ocean. Okay. Open source is developers who were downstreams build application and tools on the finished product. Those who are upstream actually work on the product to be released. It is important that the developers who are working over the finished product, they are not concerned that when the product is going to be launched in the market. They are only concerned with the development of the product, of the building application of the product when the product will be finished. But the upstream is concerned with when the product is going to roll out in the market. Rollout means when the product is going to be launched in the market. Here comes the software methodologies. In the software methodology, first question is, what is methodology all about? In our, if we say what is methodology all about, it is first, it is multi-step approach. Multi-step approach for what? For software development. Either you may say software development or system development. It may again depend upon the enterprise, which sort of enterprise that you are having. Then comes the what is methodology, which is having influence on final product. Obviously, uh, it is having influence on final product. Which methodology that you should follow, that it may not interrupt from starting from the creation to the launching of the product. Suppose you are requiring spiral methodology, but you are using some waterfall methodology, it may affect the final product. Then comes the comprehensive technique, that which uh, complex format or simple format you must follow, which techniques you should follow so that you can complete your product launch. Last comes the consistent method. Consistent method is related to your organizational style. If I say consistent method is there, it will not be like that. If you are making one decision on one day and you are changing your decision on the another day, it should not be like that. there is a fixed method or consistent method of this. Then comes who uses methodology. The second approach is who are using methodologies. All the firms or enterprises. Let's take some example of Infosys, TCS, IBM. All are using methodologies. Even if we say that if you are studying, you are also follow some methodology, that at what time you are going to attend your classes, at what time you are going to study, at what time you are going to sleep, at what time you are going to eat. All is comes under the methodologies. All the firms or enterprises are using some methodologies. That means some method. All the firms are having some sort of, you may say that a specific type of methodologies that depend upon which product or which project they are going to handle. According to that, they opt their methodologies. Then is, what are the methodologies used for? First comes the system development. Why we use methodologies? Because when we are going for some software project or system project, then we require some methodology to be followed. Okay. Why we are using it? Because it is working as guidelines for reference. We may forget that which phase we have completed or what thing we have completed, so that we require one particular method or step-by-step procedure, or we may also say that step-by-step procedure is defined here, which has to lead for your final product. Then is analysis. Under the analysis, we require some information gathered and used to help the development process. First is, we have covered what is methodology. That is, then comes the who uses methodology. Then comes what are the methodologies used for. There are several type of methodologies. One is the waterfall, red model, agile, as well as object oriented. First comes the waterfall methodology. In the waterfall methodology, we are having following phases. One is called the requirement, then is design, then implementation, then verification, then maintenance. You must have already learned about the waterfall model, that this is the basic model that we are going to cover in our syllabus. First is when to use waterfall model. Why there is a requirement to use waterfall model? When we are very much clear or fixed with our requirement, then we use the waterfall model. When the product definition is clear, that what type of product we are going to make then we use waterfall model. Then when the technology is understood, we are not in condition that which technology we should follow, then we use the waterfall model. That when the technology is fixed, when the requirement is fixed, when the product definition is fixed, then we go with the waterfall model. When there is no ambiguous requirement, means there is no duplicacy of the requirement, then we use the waterfall model. When there is sufficient amount of resources with the required enterprise are available freely, the project is short. This is the condition when we go with the waterfall model. Basically, when there is no hustle and bustle among the requirements and the resources, then we follow the waterfall model strategy. Advantages of waterfall model is it is simple and easy to understand and use, then easy to manage due to rigidity of the model. Phases are processed and completed one at a time. Works well for smaller projects where requirements are very well understood. Then comes the disadvantages of waterfall model. This is the main drawback that would don't like to follow waterfall model, that you cannot go back a step. If the design phase, this is an example that if the design phase has gone wrong, things can get very much complicated in the implementation phase. That means if you have designed something and you have to move further to the implementation phase, you cannot go back to the design phase and cannot go back to the requirement phase. Means you have to first determine all the phases very clearly before moving to the next phase. High amount of risk and uncertainty. When you are not clear with the requirement and you are going to use the waterfall model, then obviously there is a risk of uncertainty. You are not going to get an optimal project or product. Not a good model for complex and object-oriented projects. Then is poor model for long and ongoing projects. You cannot use waterfall model for your live projects. Not suitable for the projects where the requirements are moderate to high risk of changing. When you know there can be some changes in your project, then you cannot follow the waterfall model. Then comes the RED methodology. Before moving to the RED methodology, I must clear you one thing again, that these are the basic steps that is followed by all the methodologies by different way or by different names. Then comes the RED methodology. Then comes the RED methodology. In RED methodology, RED stands for Rapid Application Development. It is a software development methodology that uses minimal planning in favor of rapid prototyping. If prototyping is a working model that is functionality equivalent to component of the product. You must have heard about prototype model. The prototype model, the another name of prototype model is RAD methodology, rapid application development, that you make one dummy project and you may test over it and you find out whether there is any shortfall among the components of the product, and if there is a shortfall, then you can overcome by again planning it, and you can again modify your requirements and all these things. Here comes the rapid application methodology model. First is the business modeling, then is the data modeling, then is the process modeling, then is application generation, last is testing and turnover. This is prototype 1. If you check out another prototype, prototype 2 and prototype 3, you can see all the phases are repeating. Business modeling, data modeling, process modeling, application generation, testing and turnover. with all the things. First there is a development of prototype 1, then there is a prototype 2, then there is a prototype 3 with the automation tool, with the modification all among all the phases. If there is any drawback, then there is a final application code of final launch of the product. If we compare this grad methodology with the other models, these are just the another names that is given to the phases. Okay, I will come here. In the waterfall methodology, we are having first phase as the requirement, but in that methodology, we are having business modeling. Then in the design, here it is design phase. In the RAD, we are having data modeling. In the waterfall, we are having implementation phase. You can check here implementation phase, but in this we are having process modeling, application generation, last is testing and launching of the product. Here I have highlighted some words so that you can easily understand what is RAD modeling, how it is working. Basically, all the methodology work from requirement to the launching. All the phases are same: requirement, design, implementation, uh, that is testing, turnover. All phases are same. First comes the first phase, that is the business modeling. In the business modeling, the information flow is identified between various business functions. Here I have highlighted information flow is identified. Identify word is here. Identify is related to your requirement identifications. Okay. Then comes the data modeling. In the waterfall, we were having design phase was there. In the design phase, generally in the design phase, there are some DFTs, ER models, UML diagrams, uh, class diagrams. These type of things are used for design phase. Here it is data objects that are needed. It, whole definition says information gathered from business modeling. That is, in the business modeling, the requirements are gathered, requirements are identified, then it is moved further to the data modeling, that which data objects that are needed for the business, all are working in the data modeling. Then comes the process modeling. In the process modeling, data objects that are defined in the data modeling are converted to achieve the business information flow, to achieve some specific objectives. What does it mean? That the data object identified to achieve some business objective. Business objective means, if we use a simple word, that is to create, read, delete, update. That means how to handle the database. Whatsoever happens in the design phase, here happens in the collaboration of data modeling and the process modeling. Then comes the application generation. In the waterfall model, there was the implementation phase, but in the RAD model, there is application generation phase. In this application generation phase, the tools are used to convert process models into the code and the actual system. That is the implementation. Last is the testing and turnover, testing all the new components by using different type of testing technique that depends upon the requirement. Then comes the pros and cons related to your RAD model. First, the pros: with the frequent iteration, components and prototype coming down the pipe, progress on all over project as well as lesser segment can be easily measured and evaluated to maintain schedule and budget. Obviously, if we are iterating over model, iterating over project, we can come over the drawbacks that we can easily remove it beforehand before launching the product. Then reduce development time. Cons are, it cannot be used for small projects because small projects are already having very less budget. We cannot afford this prototype modeling technique or a rapid application technique over it. RAD is not appropriate when technical risks are very much high. It requires very skilled developers and designers for this rapid application model development. I will show you one screenshot of Proto.io that you can develop your own prototype. There is one website where you can develop your own prototype with the name of Proto.io, where you have to log in and you can create your own project or your own prototype step by step. This is basically for your development of prototypes. What happens actually in the MNCs, they provide you one sort kind of software where you can generate your own prototypes. This is one of the example. Either you go for Google and search Proto.io, they will ask you to create your login. Here I have created my login with the name of Neha ACET, and I have made one project with the name of Welcome to BEA, and you can use different type of link and buttons, and you can run it and you can find out how your project will work. Here you can again modify it and it will save it with the prototype 1, prototype 2, and so on. Thank you. It is okay for today's session. Next we will cover in our next session.